Good morning, everybody. My name's Pauline Morgan, and you might remember we met when I introduced you to the eAoPP. Well, that might seem quite some time ago to some of you, so I thought I'd make a short-ish video just to refresh your memories on what we went through. So here you can see I've arrived at my home page for eAoPP. You access this, remember, by going to your student portal, clicking on the eAoPP link, and then entering in your university username and password. Okay, don't try and change your password because it's actually linked to your university account. This is not the same for your mentors. They access the system in a different way, and if you remember, I gave you a little brown envelope to give to them so that they'd know how to log on and to actually enter their details and get onto the system and work with you. Okay, so let's go through this again. As I said, this is your home page. So every time you come onto the eAoPP, once you've logged in, it will bring you to this page. Important things to realise is if you are going to navigate the eAoPP, always use the home button to do that rather than back browser, because it tries to intuitively take you where you want to be. If you find at one point you've used the back browser and you've come up with a page of sort of orange looking script, just hit the back browser again. It will take you out of that. So don't panic, you haven't done anything. As we said, you've got on this side of the menu, you've got the home key. The My Contract is, we can look into that. That's where you sign to say you agreed for a professional code of contact. We've got the Help section, which I just click on, which gives you my contact information for support, Karen's email contacts and landline, the names of the pre-registration program leads, and all sorts of things on here that will help you look at what you need to be doing. If you get really stuck, you'll see here there's a practice placement checklist. So if you click on that, that should give you a rough idea of what you need to be doing in each part of the portfolio. But please do email us if you're really, really stuck. And you can do that by just hitting the Contact Us button, and it will send an email straight to us, and we'll try and get back to you as quickly as we can. So that menu tends to stay the same throughout all of the placements you'll have. In fact, the whole screen will stay very similar throughout all your placements. These pink things are alerts, and when I've set my dates up, they're slightly different from yours. It's telling you that, oh, I think I've set mine up probably a bit wrong. Your end date of practice has passed. All right, okay, so I need to go back, and that's a good idea. We'll go in and have a look. So it tells you what things are due to be done on the pink alerts. Anytime you want to have a look at your whole portfolio, click on this little thing here. It's supposed to be a print icon. It does look a bit like a pair of dumbbells, but click on that and that will actually give you a whole nice printout. I mean, there's not much to see in this one because I haven't actually filled it in yet. And you can expand any things that you want to. If you just wanted to look at, say, your summative assessment or interim assessment, your comments would all be down here. You can expand them. You can print it out. And that's also very useful for your mentors to have. Anything that says print view, you can safely close. You're not going to lose the portfolio. You're not going to come out of it and have to re-log in again. So we had said to you it's based on 4 tabs. First tab, commencing your practice experience. This is where you set up your practice experience, and you'll do this for every placement that you go to. So probably for the first week or so you're going to use this tab, and then unless your mentor changes, you won't be doing much with this. The second tab, we click onto that, is where all your skills and competencies are. So if you remember, we talked about field-specific competencies that you have to complete by the end of each placement, and your essential skills clusters, which we advise you to complete as early as possible, but can be completed over each year. So P1, P2, you had to complete the first set, 3, 4 the second, and 4, 5 the third set. So bits on here, again, we've asked you to do a formative exercise on every placement. That's to try and help you with your it will help you think about your final and summative assessments and how you're working in practice and what's going on around you. We ask you to get feedback from your service user, the people that you're looking after, or their relatives, and that's done with your mentor. And we've also asked you, if you're going out with a specialist, possibly won't be doing that in your first placement, but if you do get the opportunity to, say, shadow a Macmillan nurse or a physio, or excuse me, go out with a community matron or something, I'm a midwife, not matron, but things such as that you might want to record in your portfolio. So by accessing all these little buttons here, you can do that. The continuous assessment button, if you remember, we said that relates to what you have to do over your 3 years, and that is any desirable skills that you achieve. So we said that's, be sensible about those, make sure that you've discussed with your mentor that they're going to say that they're going to sign the desirable skill off, otherwise you're going to end up with a lot of records that really aren't any use. But this could be things like taking blood, corneal lavages, certain things that you wouldn't normally do unless you were in a specialised sort of setting, and that future employers might find really useful. Adult nurses only have to do EU directives, and that's just so they can meet the EU requirements and say they can cater for specialist groups of patients such as pregnant women, children, people with learning disabilities and mental health. But it's only people with an adult component in their programme that needs to do this. Medicines management has to be done by all, and if we remember, we have the detailed administration where you record the drugs, and the drug administration when you record how many drugs you've physically given out. So we could do a drug round of 1 if you're in the community, or a drug round of 4 or 5 if you're in a different area. Acuity competencies, these relate to the high care competencies, so looking after airways, neurological obs, etc. And again, these need to be done with anybody who has an adult component in their programme. So, as I said, the continuous assessment tab goes through the whole of the 3 or 4 years if you're dual field, if you're training. So we obviously keep an eye on what you're doing, but we won't be panicking about these in placement 1. Remember that anything you get done in the portfolio probably needs to be countersigned by a mentor. If it's not countersigned by a mentor, it's really not going to count, because there's nobody to verify, who's on the register is going to verify that you've actually can claim the skill that you're saying that you have. So do remember to get things signed off. The practice assessment, again, this comes up in every practice placement. You'll have an interim assessment halfway through. You need to start that. The idea is that you go in and actually complete your interim assessment, and you grade yourself and write some comments, and then submit this to your mentor when you're happy, and then they go in and repeat the process. You meet and discuss the grades and why, if there is any difference in the gradings, why these are, and then you are required to work with your mentor to set some new learning objectives. You repeat the process at the end of the summative assessment, and this time obviously what you're doing is you're writing your professional development plan for the next placement. So we're looking at your future plans for what you need to do when you move into P2. We've strongly tried to say to you, try to get these assessments on time, because the interim assessment, if you have it done too late, then there's no way for you to catch up. This is an opportunity for you to see how you're doing and where you could actually work harder or put more effort in to actually improve your practice performance and increase your grades. So if you leave it until just the summative assessment is just due, you haven't got any opportunity to do that. And equally, you need to have had enough time in the placement to make sure you're at a point where you can be assessed. So if you go too early, then you're obviously not going to get very good grades, because you haven't had long enough to normalise within the placement and actually show placement what you can achieve. So it's important, and this is for you to manage. The portfolio is very much something that you need to manage. Your mentors are not, you don't rely on your mentor to come back and sort of chase you. It's your responsibility as a professional to make sure that these competencies are met. The very last thing that happens is the progression, and this is where your mentor will actually say, enter their NMC number and their an answer to their security questions, and they say whether they passed or failed the placement. And then once that's done, it comes into us for verification or validation. We look at the portfolio, check all the ticks and crosses are all in the right place, and then we will either issue you a pass, a provisional pass if there's a couple of things that need tidying up, and we'll give you a deadline to turn things round, or if the worst comes to the worst, then you've failed the placement. Normally, if somebody does, and some people do fail the placements, there's early indications, and early contact is made with the university, and we would try and support you and your mentor as much as possible through that process, but it's not the end of the world. So that's the very quick view. I'm going to now stop this particular recording, and then I'm going to go through and do a tab by tab explanation in some more depth, and I'll record those as 4 separate videos so that you can just dip in and out of the ones that you want to look at. Okay, as I said, my name's Pauline Morgan. You can contact me at p.morgan@ac.uk. That's wrong,